Hello, I'm Roland Horn, Technical Program Chairman for the WGC 2015. And this short video is to provide assistance to those of you who are editing or reformatting papers. Before we begin, let me suggest that if you haven't already, or if you haven't prepared a paper of your own, please go and review the instructions to the authors. There's also a help video for the authors. It's useful for you to understand what the authors were supposed to have done so that when we reformat or repair the papers, you can make them the way that it should be. So let's look at the process. When you log into the WGC papers handling page, you'll notice down at the bottom, if you're an editor, you will have a clickable link to take you to the edit tasks. You may be a reformatter, or you may be an English editor, or you may be both, and the functions are very similar. So clicking on that task brings us to a list of all of the papers for which editing has been requested by the program committee. In this example paper, the reviewers have requested both English repair and reformatting. If we click on the paper title itself, this paper title will not be clickable if the paper is not ready to be reformatted or edited. And then we can see the details of this particular paper. Now, the important thing to understand about this process is that you will check out the paper to yourself. So only you can work on it at one time. So you'll check out the paper, you'll do the reformatting and the English editing, and then you'll check it back in again. And once you've checked it out, nobody else will be able to take it. So you may choose, first of all, to take a look at the paper to decide whether it's a topic that is suitable for your interests before you decide to check it out. So say, for the sake of argument, that we decided this is one that we want to work on, then we'll check it out. Once again, let me remind you that if you're doing both English editing or formatting, the English editing has to be done first. If you are only doing formatting, not English editing, then don't take a paper unless the English editing has already been done. Okay, so we click on the checkout button, and now you see the screen has changed. So this paper is now checked out to me, and nobody else can work on it. If, as it happens, I change my mind, I can check it back in without doing anything, but for now I will continue. Alright, so now I want to download the document file. I can do that by clicking on it, and it will download into Word, and Word should open in this format. And you want to make sure that you enable it for editing. Now, before we begin, let me point out the issue of the paragraph marks. This is a very important issue for editors, because the paragraph marks allow you to see if the author has got superfluous spaces or section breaks or things like that. So in Word, you will see that function listed here on the home page, and you can switch on or switch off those marks. And what you can see is that when they're switched off, we don't really understand exactly where the breaks are and where we may have to do repair. So in this particular paper, the author has actually used the template, but didn't actually use the styles, at least not very well. So we are going to need to repair the styles of this particular paper. So in addition, the author has not followed the instructions for the format of the title and the author, etc. So for example, we don't use titles in WGC papers, so we should get rid of those. The title here, you can see, it should be in title format, but it's not. So we would change it to title format. That puts it in the right place. The the styles actually have the correct spacing, so we don't need these extra spaces that the author has actually provided. So title is in title format, the author is in author format, that's already correct. The address is in address format. And here, this is the advantage we gain by seeing the spaces. We can remove the superfluous spaces. And the second line of the address is also formatted in that. We should actually reverse the order because the author has put them in the wrong order. Email comes last. Now, you will see here that the titles in the paper have not been formatted correctly. They should be done in heading 1 style. So effectively we'll go through the paper section by section and replace them to the way they should be. The main body should be in normal style. If I can find it. And you also see here the superfluous line breaks between the paragraphs are not necessary and should be removed. Okay, so you go through the paper in that format, making sure all of the styles are correct. Now there are other things that you should look for in the papers. One of them is that you may see diagrams which are too small. This paper doesn't have any diagrams, but many of the authors have put very small diagrams. Make the diagrams nice and big so that they're readable, and as long as they fit on the page, the general guideline is that the text in the diagram should be about the same size as the text in the manuscript. Another thing to look for is the headers. Some authors have had a challenging time getting the headers correct. So this particular paper has the first page header correct, but where they're supposed to have the author names, the second page has no header at all, and then the third page has a first page header again. So this is kind of strange. So going to the headers, which are on the insert page, you want to edit the headers. So here you'll notice that we should have a different first page header and different odd and even page headers. So actually this is the first page header, we should maybe remember that. And then we can insert that. Okay, then we go to the next. And once again to the next. So this is not what we want for the even pages. This is the author's name. And the odd page headers should be on the right side, and even one should be on the left side. Okay, in addition, this particular paper has a lot of line spaces, and furthermore you'll notice that if we look more closely, there's a lot of double spaces between words, so it's kind of spaced out in a strange way. We don't want that, so we can replace a double space with a single space. Okay, so that spaces it out more attractively. Okay, so now we're ready to save this file, and you can save it to a place on your own computer. And then you're ready to upload it again. So when you upload the paper, the author will receive a message that the editing has been done. So we'll upload it first, and it brings you back here, so that has been uploaded. But we also need to specify that it has been corrected. So we can make a comment that we corrected the format template was used. And we could similarly make some remarks if we wanted to about the English. And then finally, to finish up, there's a series of buttons here under number 6 that you would press as the last step, that you either fix the English or you fix the format or you fix both. In our case, we fixed, let's say we fixed both. And now coming back to the list, you can see that that paper has now disappeared. It's been taken off the list because we have fixed it, and there are no remaining files left to be fixed. So this is a list of all the different changes we may choose to make. Another example that you may encounter in some papers is where the figures have moved around on the page. The authors were requested to put the figures in line with text, but if they just did a default paste in Word, they may have figures which are floating, and it's not uncommon that they actually float off the page. Another thing that happens is if they paste arrows or text on top of the figure after it's been pasted, that also may cause them to move around. In that case, you need to change the figures to be in line with text, and then they'll just behave like a normal paragraph, if you like. So thank you very much for participating in the World Geothermal Congress, and we look forward to seeing you at the Congress.